Hey.
What's going on, everyone? This is Jeff at GeekDriven, and we are here for an episode of Movies and Shows where we're going to review episode 2, Infection of The Last of Us. And joining me today is Charly.
Carlos Charlie, how's everyone doing today? So glad to be here. Excited to talk about the show. It left off in a little bit of a cliffhanger, but can't wait to talk about it. Oh, yeah.
And Hype.
Yeah, listen, glad to be back. Was there for the first episode review, so definitely looking forward to breaking this episode down.
Hell yeah. This I can't wait either. Don't think anybody else will be joining us tonight. If Steve or Alonzo drops in, then we'll talk, let them talk. But yeah, this episode was great. The first episode was obviously the epitome of what we all are hoping of a what do you call it, adaptation of any video game, right? So
Right.
that was the best that we could have hoped for, and we got what we deserved or what we asked for. So episode 2 just kind of continues that journey for us, for Joel and Ellie, and I honestly think that it was almost as good as the first episode, just because of, there's going to be a lot of spoilers going forward, but if you guys don't know. But before we get started on any spoilers, before we get started on talking any more about the episode, let's go ahead and do a couple of things here. So I know that we are going to give I think, yes, right here. So there is, if you use Nerdvana 14 code, you'll get 30 days of unlimited cover price for only 99 cents. So if you guys don't know what cover price is, it is a good tool to get your a price guide for your comics. It's also another tool to keep track of your comics. There's also a lot of good information. There's articles as well. So definitely go check it out. If you want 30 days of unlimited cover price for only 99 cents, just type in Nerdvana 14. And then from our pals at Bird City Comics, with all their store exclusives, their 8 billion genies that sold out like hella quick, you can get 10% off your purchase if you use TNH10. All right. So go visit them, go say hi to Aunt and Laura, and get yourself some cool store exclusives.
You call her Aunt Laura? I don't know. Does she like being called Aunt Laura?
Aunt and Laura, excuse me.
Oh, okay. I thought you were calling her Aunt Laura. I'm like,
no,
aging somebody.
Mama Laura.
No, I'm pretty sure I'm older than Laura.
I know, right? You can't say that. Only if you're younger, but yeah, you can't say that. But yeah, go treat yourself at Bird City Comics. Go treat yourself.
You should. And if you missed out, I'm so sorry. But yeah, those 8 billion genies are really dope. Also, we want to give a shout out to our teenage horsemen. We got Uncle Rudy, Senti Rudy 1, and then we've got At Something Wong, Deanna May, etc., and Glenn 2K12 from across the pond. Thank you guys. We really appreciate you. And also our resident DJ at Beats by Monster. Give him a shout out. He is our resident DJ. And we miss you, Eddie. I can't wait for the next get together.
Oh, for sure. Same here. Always have a blast at the get-togethers.
Heck yeah. All right. Well, let's give a few shout outs. We got a few people in here. We got a couple of people in here. Yeah. We got GT Key Comics, of course, always early. Look, he was even here an hour earlier, then an hour later.
Surprised me.
And of course, we got Comic Kingpins in the house, and Hyper is part of the Comic Kingpins.
Hey.
Sir, yes, sir. Yeah, we go on every 7 p.m. Today, our show was canceled, unfortunately, because of scheduling conflicts and all that with some of our crew members. So, yeah, at least I think that's Face that's running this username right now. So, yeah.
It was good not seeing you, Face. And then we've got AOA in the house.
Hey.
What's going on? And then we've got Sticks Boy just showed up. What's going on? Yeah, let's talk about it. Let's
do it. Like he says, Nerd Herders assemble. Oh yeah.
Yes. So first of all, I don't know. What do you guys want to do? You guys want to talk about the episode first, or you want to give me your impression of episode 2?
Well, we could do impressions. You go ahead, Hyper, if you want. Impressions.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean,
Think of episode 2.
yeah. So listen, like I mentioned in the previous show, my only concern about when an episode starts off very strong is can they keep that energy for the remaining season. So far, they're batting 2 for 2. Just to sum it up, great episode. You mentioned, Jeff, that you thought it was great as number 1. I thought it not a knock on number 2. I just felt like number 1 is still a bit better. I still find it as a better of the 2 episodes.
Oh, I said almost.
Almost. Okay, sorry.
No, definitely not.
Okay, so I'm with you on that one. I'm with you on
He's
that.
He's like, read the transcript.
My bad. So
yeah. No.
It's still a great episode, but yeah, I still feel episode 1 was a bit more of the better episode. But again, awesome episode, and yeah, I'll probably give more of my thoughts when we actually break it down.
Yeah,
Charly.
But that makes a lot of sense. I mean, episode 1 to go something new. It was something very off the game, and it was awesome. It presented something, and it blew me away. Part 2, it added a new mechanic that's not in the game, which hopefully pays off later on, which we'll talk about later. And it's just, and also for the first time seeing the actual creatures or enemies of the game was awesome. I mean, I could feel the anxiety and all that in that room, in that museum, which we'll talk more about. I'm not going to get into all that. So, I mean, the first one was good, but I like the second episode because it brings a lot to the table, a new mechanic, and also these, you see the first time you see these things called clickers. To me, that was awesome. I was watching it with my wife. She couldn't even stare at the screen. She was closing her eyes like, is it gone yet? Is it gone yet? And she could hear the clicking in the background. Oh, man, it's just like the game. It was terrifying. So I'll leave it at that.
Oh, she got a different experience because if you had your eyes closed and you're hearing it, it's almost like you're probably playing the game. It's just that anticipation of hearing that noise, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But yeah, let's just start with the beginning of the episode. I mean, kind of like the first episode, they start with a flashback, right?
Mm-hmm.
In this case, it's a flashback to 2 days before the outbreak.
Mm-hmm.
And they're in Jakarta, and there's the military is looking for a person. They grab her from a restaurant. She thinks she's in trouble. I mean, this is Indonesia, so it's Jakarta, Indonesia, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah, just making sure I'm not uneducated
with the facts.
I only know this because one of my favorite movies is The Raid. So that was in.
That's Jakarta. Right. You're right. Awesome movie, man.
That's right.
Balls to the wall action.
Yeah, I mean, she thinks she's in trouble, but they're basically telling her, "Oh, we need you for your specialty," and her specialty is in, I guess, fungus. So she's a mycotin. No, I can't. It's something like that.
It's her profession.
MYCO something. Yeah, it's her profession as a doctor, and they bring her to a lab, and they just basically tell her, "Look at the slide." And she looks at the slide and she's like,
"It's a joke."
Yeah, this is not real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much.
And they're telling her it's from a human, and she's like, "No way!" Like it's she's as they're talking more and more about this slide that she's looking at, she's freaking out more, as you can tell, as she's asking more questions, and she finally asks the question, did a human infect her? This person? And they're like, yes. And that's when she really freaks out. And they even tell her that they have this person who the tissue came from in another room. She gets in just like Outbreak. She gets in her hazmat suit. She goes inside, checks out the body, and as you're looking at it, it's just a naked body on a slab. And she is dead. It's a female, and you only see one bullet wound in the middle of her forehead. So they were saying something like she was probably attacking somebody, and they had to kill her.
Yeah, they had to lock her in the bathroom. Pretty much, they locked her in the bathroom or something like that. Yeah, and
then when they let her out, she tried to attack the policeman, and they just shot her. So it obviously the headshot wound is like a key. It's basically telling you how it's like the easiest way to kill one of them.
Mhm.
And she notices there's a bite mark at the bottom of her foot, and underneath the bite mark there's this white tissue that doesn't look human.
Mhm.
And I guess she's asking questions again to the, what was she asking to the general?
Just saying how many people were around her. If you see anybody else infected, there was like 14 people that were unaccounted for.
Right.
Or
So he
something
was
like that.
talking about where this person was infected, right?
Yeah.
This person had worked at a factory,
Like a
and it
grain and
was
wheat
actually
factory, I think.
a grain and flour factory, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And if you guys don't know, Jakarta is the world's biggest flour producer. It has the biggest in reality. In our real world, they have the biggest flour factory.
I didn't know that.
That's true.
Yeah. So and another fun fact that I found out from watching somebody else's show, in 2003, it was one of the hottest years. Like 20,000 people died from like heat stroke or heat related deaths.
So that might come into play.
It's like a combination. They used all of those factors involved. They did a lot of research, but she was basically, figuring out what was going on. This person got bit. 13 other people had gotten bit as well, but they had only accounted for 14 of the victims, but not the person who actually bit them.
What's it called? Patient zero, right?
Yeah, essentially, they're looking for patient zero in that situation.
Which God knows where they're at. And that's funny. That's why you said that, because I love okay, one thing I love about episode 1 and 2, the intros. They definitely give a backstory. The game doesn't give a backstory, but this one gives a little backstory, and that kind of gives you a whole grip on what's going on. So yeah, that's pretty nuts. That's crazy, man.
And if I understand it right, like you said, this whole Jakarta part was not in the game.
No.
But if you heard from episode 1, remember the radio in the background? They're saying there's something going on in Jakarta, something weird.
And Joel didn't know where it was at. Like, where's that?
That's true. Yeah. That's a callback.
And then the daughter knew. Yeah.
And so the where this person worked is gonna come into play a little bit later, but she goes into the mouth of the dead person and pulls out some
tendrils.
I guess, some mushroom tendrils.
Yeah,
that's disgusting, dude.
And she freaks out immediately because it's moving. She drops it and gets the heck out of that room.
I would too. I'd say burn the body, man. Get that thing out of here. That's just disgusting.
Right? It's still alive, basically.
Yeah, the infection is still alive. The host is dead, but the infection is alive. It's weird.
Yeah, that was weird. So now we're sitting in a room. She's talking to the general. And he's basically begging her for a vaccine, right? A cure. And she looks at him like he's dumb.
Yeah. I mean, the vaccines take years, decades to make. It's not like you put rubbing alcohol or something together to make it.
Right. And she's telling him there is none.
Oh.
And she's like, well, what do you want us to do? What can we do? And there's just a pause. And she just looks seriously at the general, and it's translated from, Indonesian, but she basically says in English, bomb them all, bomb all the people in all the city.
and to think about, she's like a highly praised scientist. To say that, I mean, I bet the general was like scared, of course.
And you also have to think about it. Like, this is very like, obviously this could get me like canceled for whatever, but you also think that she's a woman, right? And she's like a doctorate, right?
Yeah.
So she's just a nerdy woman, right? You think of these people as the least aggressive, least like, they're
more non-combative, right? Yeah,
right. Most compassionate, right? But when she says it, it stuns the general because it's just coming from someone who you just don't expect to just kill everyone.
There's no other way. Wow. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. She says, "I want to go home,
hug my kids, hug my mom, or something."
Yeah, because she's gonna die in it too. She knows she can't leave. She knows she's gonna die. She's in the city. She just told him to kill everybody in the city.
Mhm.
So she just wants her last moments with her family, and that's when you know it got serious.
Windex. Windex is the cure. What was that? My Greek Wedding? Was it the dad and the Windex? Good on Alonzo.
But yeah, what's up, K-pop?
Yeah,
Yo, K-pop. How you doing, K-pop?
Hey, K-pop. But yeah, listen. To add a bit more to Jeff's points and all that. Yeah, I mean, oftentimes, and I was actually thinking about this. Like, oftentimes, where video adaptations kind of fail is when I find directors or whoever get a bit too cute for their own good, and they start doing interpretations way off from the actual source material. And this is a case where they stayed true to the source material, but they added stuff to basically flesh out the lore and the story. Like you mentioned, Jeff. Like, this wasn't part of the game. Like the whole Jakarta intro, just like the previous talk show segment from the last episode.
Right.
These, like, I'm starting to think that maybe these intro segments are going to be just that. They're going to be like segments that aren't in the game that are just going to be done to kind of like flesh out the lore.
But I also want to point out that they feel like a cutscene in a video game. It looks like it wasn't in the video game, but it feels like it could have been one of those cutscenes in it.
No, for sure. That's the thing. Like, a lot of these things, it's not a case of you're adding stuff that takes, like, the main crux of the story is still intact. Nothing changes, but this is very much a supplement. It's almost like DLC content, put it that way, for a game. So that's why I really appreciate, because it's a very sensitive subject when you talk to people like, like myself and all that. Let's say that are really into a franchise. You want to make sure that it's kind of preserved, right? So when you have added elements that either might detract or, supplement something, you're a bit on edge to see how things go. And so far, and you know what? We forgot to point this out. Neil Druckmann is actually the director of this episode, who actually was the director of the actual game.
Yep.
So, and I think this is actually out. I could be wrong. This is actually his directorial debut in an actual live action.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah. So, and I mean, we'll get into his. You could kind of see his influence throughout the other parts of this episode. But yeah,
yes,
it helps when the actual guy who made the game is hands-on with these kind of sceneries. And yeah, it's just the whole direness of, like, bomb them all and all that. It's
that's like last resort. That's like Plan Z.
Yeah, because she even emphasized, like she had to tell him, like, look, like, listen to me. Like, I might be paraphrasing, but she's like, listen to me. I've been studying this my whole life, whole life. So, like, it's not like something like, she, like, the last 2 years, her whole life, and basically she affirmatively said no vaccine, no medicine. So it's not even like a case of, like, like a lot of times you see pressers where, you want to give hope to the public, right? And you'll say something like, we're working on something, like, obviously 2020 and all that, when that stuff hit the fan, there was a lot of stuff like, we're working on, like, there was nothing definitive in terms of, like, this is where we are, like, in her mind, this is where we are, and there's nothing that's going to change it. So it almost, it adds to the bleakness of an already bleak situation.
Yeah. And I enjoy the fact that this beginning part, this flashback, also makes you think about the first episode. Like, there's a ton of stuff that makes you think about, like, just the Jakarta part alone, right? But then you talk about where the infection had started in that wheat flour factory, right? And if you call back to the first episode, they ran one of them, I think is it Joel or Tommy, is on a Atkins diet, so they're not eating carbs, right? They ran out of the pancake mix. They had no cake mix. So this is all flour and wheat, right?
Yeah, and there's fungus there's fungus in the yeast.
Yes.
Yeah, you could eat that. And then also in the game it says that there's an infection in the food. And that's what the game said. So I mean, that's the connection right there.
This is what they're using from the game. We'll talk about what they don't use from the game later, but I mean, that's that interconnection that we all want to see.
Right.
And also, like, the neighbor was making, raisin cookies.
Muffins,
right? Yeah. So it's all this other stuff that they were, they were eating it.
It's funny because like my cousin, like before the episode, like I was watching with my cousin, and I wasn't aware of this, but there was an actual internet talk, I guess on Reddit or something, about the whole theory that it has something to do with the yeast or something, this whole infection, and basically her dialogue with the soldier kind of confirmed that theory at that point. Like like the yeast or whatever in the flour had a very much like a part of this whole infection.
At least in the show, they're confirming that that's the actual one of the reasons.
Well, in the game, there's like a right in the beginning, there's a show saying that people are getting sick from crops, and they think it's like the dusters or whatever, but it's not. So it's this. So it kind of does make that connection.
No carbs.
Yeah, listen, I would be infected like in the first 10 minutes of like if carbs was basically the origin of all this, you're gonna see me with like spores in like the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, I'll take my chances. I'm sorry, dude. Carbs for life. I'll take my chances.
Well, I mean, fungus grows on potatoes too, I guess. So.
Yes, they do. They sprout things, dude. If you leave it in the
honestly, I think unless you are on a carnivore diet, I'm pretty sure like there's no.
You get scurvy. You get scurvy if you eat too much meat and no fruits or anything else.
Well, don't tell that to the Liver King.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a very important, because I mean, she said it's the perfect substrate for the fungus to attach to.
Mm-hmm.
And it all makes sense. It's all real world related.
Yeah.
So now now that we've gotten the scare out of the way, we've gotten this all this background information. We move to the present.
Mm-hmm.
And we find Ellie and Joel and Tess. Is it Tessa?
Tess.
Yes, Tess.
Okay.
Tess. They're in the middle of the city. They're going to be searching for basically a way out, right?
A route to the capital.
Right, yeah. But then they have to stop by the hotel, the abandoned hotel, so they can get like a view of everything. Mm-hmm. And this is just like, I want to say just like a video game.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't even have to play the game to have like felt that eeriness of them walking into the place, like
mm-hmm.
the point of views that you see as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very eerie, this whole hotel scene. So I mean, Charlie, talk about it, please.
Oh man, the hotel scene was awesome, because if you see my gameplay, you actually go through the two huge towers, but in this case they go through the hotel, which is fine. And the thing is, I love how Ellie is brought to character, because she's messing around with the desk, like ringing the bell, and then all of a sudden she moves something and the skeleton pops out. Dude, in the game she's always like, she's the lively one, she's the young kid, the young puppy who's outside for the first time. You know, she's all like getting excited. Meanwhile, Joel and Tess are the serious ones. Say, don't touch that, don't mess around, don't do this and that. So I was really happy to see that she brought that character to life. And also what I like seeing is that remember that one part where like there was rubble in the hallway? They're like, oh, this wasn't here before. How many times you had to push someone to go through a crevices so they'll go around, open the door for you? And I love that part, because that's a gaming mechanic too.
Yeah.
And I also love the part when Tess was at the door, she's like, Joel, put your gun down. Like she knows him so well, like a couple.
She knew it was
yeah, they're like a couple.
Yeah.
So when she said that, I laughed, because they know each other so well. Like, put that gun down, I'm opening the door now. So that was pretty cool. And also what was really how do you say it? Something that really surprised me is when they first see the infected on the street. They look like maggots the way they were wiggling.
I heard
around.
that comparison a couple of times, how like they look like maggots. Yeah,
it was kind of gross, you know, but yeah, they're moving around. And for the first time, they kind of acknowledge them as a hive mind in a way.
Yep.
Now, because there's no spores, now there's tendrils. And whenever they step,
let's talk about that though. Let's talk about the fact that they've changed there's a difference between the game and the show.
Mm-hmm.
So in the game, a lot of it is based on the spores from the infected, right?
You wear a gas mask and everything, otherwise you get infected. Yeah,
right. So in the show, they're definitely told us that they're not going to go by the spores. It's not going to, so they don't have to look for like face masks and stuff like that. This is based on like getting bit and I forget what they're called, but they're all the mushrooms or fungus is connected.
Like a network.
But yeah, by a network.
Cordyceps, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, cordyceps. Yeah.
Yeah,
Fungal
cordyceps.
cordyceps. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So it's just basically like a network underground.
Yeah.
And it just interconnects all of them together within I guess a distance.
Depending on which route I guess they're connected to, which is
right.
really bizarre.
It's like a almost like a highway system.
Yeah, it's
exactly.
really weird.
Like you know, like basically like an ant farm is all underneath, is all interconnected tunnels and stuff. Except the tunnels are filled with cordyceps. And it's just another way of, I guess, doing this, because it's not like that in the game.
Exactly. And the thing is, if it was like in the game, it'd be much more difficult, because when I play a level, I wipe out everything so I can collect all resources.
Right.
If it came to the point that if I killed something and it knew where I killed it anywhere in the map, that makes it really difficult. The game would have been much harder.
Gosh, I'd be tiptoeing all over the place if that was the case.
I wouldn't kill anything then.
Yeah.
You know, so
imagine they do that in a future game because they evolve.
Part three, maybe. Yeah, I mean, good point. What if it's a point of evolution and now it's a network? Maybe.
Right.
I don't see why not.
And the thing is, actually, one of the things that I think also may have prevented that kind of mechanic in the game is because, also keep in mind, the hardware that you were doing. Again, I'm going to go into a bit of the gaming aspect of it. The hardware that Last of Us was dealing with was PS3, which was at that point, like when The Last of Us came out, it was on the last leg of the PS3 console. It basically used all of that system's resources, and they just remastered it in PS4. So I can imagine like a system like where like when you kind of have to do AI stuff where you have to, like, if you step on something and then it alerts others, that's a bit of an AI intensive resource. And, that kind of stuff, I don't think those old generations would have been able to capture that kind of situation. I just feel like now with the PS5 and whatever, if we get a PS6, whatever, if there is a Last of Us sequel, they could probably do that kind of AI, implementation, because they have the power to do it. But yeah, because that's a very high level kind of
super
situation
intense.
where, like, if you kill something in one room, it alerts other enemies in somewhere else, and then it knows your exact location and then it swarms there. Yeah, it's some heavy stuff. But just to speak on that little portion, you kind of mentioned it, Charlie, about Tess having to go through the crevice to kind of that, like, you could tell Neil Druckmann's fingerprints on that because that is very, like, I was like, this was like, again, I'm just going off initial reactions when I'm watching the episode, like that was very much like a very Naughty Dog video game-esque scenario where basically you're in a squad and then there's a certain point where you're broken up from the squad because you have to go loot or look for something while your squad members are kind of stuck, and you kind of have to circle back. Usually it's Joel, because you're usually controlling Joel. In this case, they kind of flipped it, and Tess that kind of did that. And the thing is, one thing about episode 1, I said I wasn't too nitpicky on episode 1. One thing I was hoping for was a bit more on Ellie, the character. Like, we got snippets of her, but I kind of find that little rapport that she had with Tess and Joel kind of spoke a bit more about who she is as a character. Like, she's a very sassy person. And look,
naive, very naive.
And at the end of the day, look, as much as she may come off as having a bit of an edge to her, she's still a kid at the end of the day, and you could tell, like her whole little.
She's playing like, tough.
Yeah, she's playing tough, but, like, she's ringing the bell, pretending to like,
around.
She's doing kid shit. It's like
exactly.
Basically, it's and that's why, like, you can kind of tell it's going to be a very tumultuous relationship between her and Joel, because Joel is very much on that
serious,
very jaded, and he's got a lot of he's been basically dealt with a pretty bad hand for the last 20 years. So to have a kid that's a bit more what's the word, like, not optimistic, but, like, a bit more lively, you can tell that there's going to be a bit more of a and he even said, like, look, you're a weird kid. He flat out said it.
Said it from the beginning.
Yeah.
So
if you think about it, like, what's it called in episode 1? Make it sound like Star Wars episode 1. No, like on the first episode, there's no kids. There's no kids in that town, dude. Have you noticed?
Right. I didn't realize that either.
Yeah. So you don't get that.
No, except for that kid that got killed.
but they didn't stay for long.
No, we sure didn't.
That's true. That's true. There isn't, yeah.
So there's no kids, so there's no lively, there's no personality. I mean, kids bring life to certain situations.
But that also makes sense too, because if they're like Ellie and they're rambunctious and they're completely innocent and ignorant of their surroundings, they're the first ones that are going to get bit, killed, infected.
Exactly. Good point. Yeah, you see. So
there is one thing I want to point out about the set piece. I don't know if it was Jeff or Charlie. I think it was Jeff that mentioned that it felt like, even though he didn't play the game, he said that you could tell it's like the actual set piece itself is very much in tune with the game. Not maybe not like a 1-for-1 replica,
right,
but it's very much heavy on the actual scenery of the game. And the thing is, one of my buddies, Rocksteady, who lives in Edmonton, Canada,
cool.
He shared a post basically because The Last of Us was filmed in that part, so he actually showed a before and after transformation of the city.
That's crazy. That's so cool.
Yeah,
that's really cool. I wish I would live to see that.
Yeah, like one guy, like I posted something on IG and he said like he literally was checking out of his backyard and he could see the post-apocalyptic scenery. Like they were filming literally outside his apartment.
That's really cool. I'd love to take pictures and do back-to-back shots. That'd really be cool. Yeah.
Okay, so I know we got a limited amount of time left, but I definitely want to talk about two different things going here. I want to talk about the clickers, and basically, you know, just that whole scene of discovering them, and then I want to talk about the twist at the end. Well, the early twist, right? Because if you're a game player, you understand that this twist was coming. You just didn't know when.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the clickers. What did you guys think? I mean, we finally get to see them full flesh, in your face, in action.
Oh man, you know what? When I first heard the sounds they make, it's exactly like the game, and I knew there was one around. My wife was like, "What is that noise?" I'm like, "Oh, watch out! You're gonna see."
Well, they use the same voice actors for those.
Yeah. And when they said that, I'm like, people make those noise? I thought it was like, you know, like generated digitally. I'm
instrumental,
like, I'm like, you make that noise? I mean, if I could make that noise, I'd freak people out in the dark. I was telling you last time to make that clicking sounds in the dark. Yeah, dude.
I'd be sent to HR if I made that kind of noise.
But I mean, the clickers they're horrifying. They're horrifying and colorful, oddly colorful. And I mean, they use actual prosthetics. It didn't look digital.
They looked great.
Yeah, they did.
I'm so glad they figured it out, because then they can duplicate it, and they don't have any and you know, make any little changes that they need to make it, you know, differentials. But I mean, the fact is that now that they can recreate it, it's cheap to do, or at least cheaper, and then they probably use less, you know, FX, and save on the cost, and this all gives it better reality to, you know, that scariness that grips you, right?
Man, yeah, dude, you don't want to. Dude, the anxiety was so high. Awesome moment, awesome tension, actually. So yeah, very good.
The thing is, like you guys kind of stole the words right out of my mouth. The thing is, and this is something that also The Walking Dead does very well for the most part as well, in terms of like the actual aesthetics and like, you know, the whole appearance of it. This is where it pays to have like actual costume design and proper makeup and all that versus digital. No matter how great, you can't argue this with me, no matter how advanced CGI gets, nothing can replicate real life actual, you know, live costumes. And you can tell, because that's usually the knock on sometimes on some of these sci-fi horror movies, where it's very CGI heavy and it bleeds through the screen. In this case, everything felt very real, and like the clickers, like you mentioned, Jeff, and the fact that like you like, you know, Joel, like like he knew what the situation was. He even said like, we're not going to be quiet, we're going to be silent. Like there's a distinction between both.
There's a difference.
And just to highlight how super sensitive their hearing is, her heavy breathing was enough to kind of alert them. It wasn't like she dropped something. Like you kind of have to control down to your breath how you kind of conduct yourself around these things. And the fact that it took several gunshots, it wasn't just like, you know, like you know, conventional zombie wisdom, one blast to the head and you're done. it doesn't even really like his head is. You can't even tell what the target is.
Where is it? Yeah.
Yeah. You basically have to kind of like take. He basically wasted a clip on one clicker, and then the other one
Pray and
just came
spray.
barreling through.
Pray and spray.
And Tess also stabbed one of them in the head, in the brain.
It didn't do anything.
It didn't do nothing. It's still going after them.
Oh, it had a hatchet. You're right. She put a hatchet to the dome. Yeah,
because I think it had like a tough membrane. Because they even mentioned like, I don't think they actually mentioned in the show, but like when you evolve, like the membrane around it gets a bit more sturdier. It's like
tough.
It's like very callousy. Yeah. So that's
not even that. It needs to resonate with the sound too. So I can see why it has to be tougher, maybe. Or I can see.
Yeah, that. Because like in the game, like when we saw like Charly's gameplay, you had to use a shiv basically to kill it. You couldn't if you tried to kill it like use a 4x4. It wouldn't work on it. It doesn't work. It's unsafe. So you literally had to basically concoct a shiv or shoot it to get rid of it.
Exactly.
It kind of just shows the level between that and the regular infected.
The runners.
And since you both played the game, how does it compare?
That museum, I almost said that museum level in the show, but that museum part, it plays exactly like in the game. I love that museum part, even though it has like the whole historical things. It almost played exactly like that. That I give it kudos, and also the dialogue. There's so much dialogue they use in the game while they banter and talk to each other, dude. I mean, I should probably put something together, but when they speak, when she talks about the Capitol, like I think Joel goes, "What do you think?" She goes, "The jury's still out." She says the same thing in the game, and I'm like, "Damn, that hits. That's awesome." Yeah, kudos for that.
Yeah, it's very much if you go back and watch Charly's gameplay, it's very much. I mean, the only difference is obviously I think the number of clickers and infected kind of reduced that, but I think it didn't really hurt the scene in any case. Basically,
you're right.
It accomplished what it needed to accomplish. You basically like what you want to kind of set out was to basically let people know, listen, this is what you're now dealing with, not just infected, but it's this next level threat.
Wow.
So honestly,
and there's a group of them, and they all are interconnected, and
it's just I was like again. I actually rewatched that scene, and it doesn't take away from the tension, even though you know what's coming, and that's honestly like a testament to also their performances. Like I said, like the way, like they were, like he was like shut up. It's like this is what we're doing.
Shut up now. Shut up. Yeah.
So, I know. And the way the clickers moved, it's crazy.
Oh, dude, they move so like I don't want to say janky. That's another word, but they're like spasm. They move like spasmically.
They say they hired people who were huge fans of the game.
Good. That's good on them because they're passionate and they'll do the job done. So they'll get the job done.
Yeah.
Good job on that, man.
All right, let's talk about the last thing, the big twist at the end. And unfortunately, it comes on episode 2. Even though I love the freaking actress, Tess is bitten during their tussle with the clickers.
Yeah.
I mean, it was impressive. Like when you watch them fight, that she's like pushing off these clickers off of her. But unfortunately, she is bitten, and that they find out because she's pushing them to keep moving on, and for Joel to take Ellie and to get her where she needs to get to, and because Joel's like, I've had enough of this. This is too dangerous. This is too much. We're going back. She's like, nope, I was bit. Ellie figures out that she's bitten, and she shows him. He demands to see it, and they're just all heartbroken at that moment. Pissed off, and this seems like the call to action for Joel, right? Like every hero needs that call to action. He seems so reluctant, so I only want to go save Tommy, and so he doesn't care about anything else, and now because of her death, it feels like this is the part where he goes, okay, I have to take on what she wanted to do.
Like her last wish type of deal.
Exactly. And man, the way she goes out, it is disturbing and badass all at the same time.
Like she is. She's a real badass.
But just the kiss, man, the kiss.
The fungal kiss.
Like
Yeah.
I'm trying to like. So I'm just trying to imagine like it if she's still human. I know she's being infected and she's turning as as it's happening. But maybe the infection infected her enough where it just froze her there. Because she could have moved away. She could have run around in circles there so they can gather up in the center. I don't know.
Around the pole.
Right. But she couldn't even get the lighter to light.
Yeah.
So
like,
I mean, it felt really like maybe even like the spores were like, or the fungus was like fighting her on even lighting it, right? Because she was so clumsy with it almost.
Alonzo likes that part. Alonzo puts that part on repeat, that fungal kiss.
Puking. Yeah, no kidding, dude. It is super freaky. What up, Coffee?
What's up, Copy?
Yeah, I just talk about the kiss because that's just, it freaks me out that she just stood there and took it.
Yeah, you know what? I think the infected kind of sensed something in her because they didn't tear her apart. So maybe they sensed that she was infected and they just kind of wanted to speed the process along. I think that's my thing. And also, like she had that lighter. I'm like, I would have picked up the grenade and pulled the pin. That would have been faster, would have been more reliable. Because she made like a bomb soup, gasoline and grenades. I'm like, my God, what a mix,
and they had guns there, didn't they?
Yeah, they had guns. You could have sparked the floor with the pistol or something, So maybe because of spur of the moment, she was nervous. She was transforming. Yeah. Plus, she was twitching. Her hands started twitching. So maybe she wasn't in that sense of mind. Don't do it.
What do you think of her? What do you think, Hyper, of the kiss? Oh my God.
Okay, it's funny how we're only talking. What do you think of the kiss? Like, what do you want me to think of the kiss?
Were you freaked out? Were you like, what the hell?
So I'm in the same camp as Charlie. I think that basically like it didn't go as violent as maybe it should have, basically because there is a sense that she's already been infected and all that. So yeah, so and you know what? I think it's almost like on her part, it's a bit of a defeatist thing because she knew that look, this is her last stand, and she didn't want to. Maybe she didn't want to. Again, I'm just hypothesizing that she probably didn't want to fight it, and she figured, listen, let me just give in, and I'm just gonna start still making a last ditch attempt to get this lighter going. Because she knew like this is the end for her. So basically, she's just gonna look. I don't think she willingly did it just because she was into that. It was more like, look, this is where I'm gonna like make my sacrifice. So let me just kind of play along and let's just.
I was thinking that too. Maybe she was just like, okay, well, I won't run toward them, or because Joel and Ellie had took off. She was maybe like, okay, if I sit here and they all see me and they come to me, then I don't have to worry about them. Right? Yeah, like her last ditch effort to do something heroic on top of like blowing herself up.
Yeah.
So sorry, the comment kind of distracted me a bit in the chat.
She was into that. It was her fantasy, dude. That was her longtime fantasy. You didn't see that part?
Yeah. But I do got to point out one thing though.
Go ahead.
The thing is, that whole sequence, that is definitely not in the, because in the game, like, yes, she does get infected and she does show Joel. But the thing is, the big difference in the game is it's the Fedra that actually are swarming in, and she basically kind of uses herself as a distraction to kind of start a firefight with the Fedra while Joel and Ellie escape. Like the infected weren't even at play in that whole scenario. Well, so
plus there's no network, that weird tendril network.
Yeah, that whole tendril network thing wasn't even part of the game. So
but does this fit? Does it, like, if you didn't get the Fedra and you got this and the introduction of the network and honestly, like, what would Fedra be there for anyways? There's no one alive.
The Fireflies.
The Fireflies, yeah, because they were hunting the Fireflies. That's right. And the thing is, they were kind of, I can't remember if they had info on Ellie as well, but basically they were on generally they're in pursuit of anyone that's outside the quarantine zone in the first place. So yeah. So, and the thing is, either scenario, I think basically the crux of the situation was Tess made a sacrifice for the team. So whether it's the Fedra or whether it was an infected, it doesn't change the fact that the whole point of Tess's involvement in both scenarios is she basically put herself in a situation to kind of let the other two escape. So that's why it works either way. They just happen to be
same outcome.
Yeah, same outcome, just different adversaries that basically she had to kind of fend off. But
Yeah,
you end up with the same result.
Pretty much. So
Well, I'm glad that you guys feel that way about that, because you know, I'm sure there'll be someone who complains about, well, that wasn't
purists,
the same.
like purists.
Right.
There's always purists on any show or any passionate thing. So whatever, they can scream and kick all they want.
But I'm really glad that you guys liked it, because I mean, because I liked it. I had no issues with it.
Well, and the thing is, like, I'm kind of happy. I'm kind of glad that they're playing a little bit different from the game, because that surprises me.
Right.
And, I mean, and I like surprises when it comes to these things. So I mean, I'm kind of glad I get these little, tidbits. Like, oh wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, because I had to get affirmation from my cousin. Like, I actually asked him after the episode, do they do anything about the hive and stuff in the game? He's like, no, that's actually new. That's actually because I wasn't sure maybe if I missed out on something. Maybe
no, you didn't.
Like I said, I never played part 2, right? So I wasn't sure.
Oh, that's right. You didn't play part 2. That's right.
I feel like that's going to play a big part going into the future of the show, where it's like a good surprise for everyone. Like, how are they going to like get around this network? Because that feels like it's everywhere. It doesn't feel like it's just limited to one place.
The stakes are a lot higher now when you introduce something that involves like a hive mind. Like the first thing I thought of when they said hive mind, I was thinking of the game Gears of War, because that's that.
Oh,
there's a literal mode called like Hive Buster or something like that. So like when you start doing hive and network situations, the stakes are a lot higher, because your consequence has ripple effects now.
Yeah, and the good thing about a hive mind, if you control the center of it, you destroy all of it. That's the only good thing about the hive mind.
Yeah, it has a nucleus usually.
Yeah, but in this case, it's a little different. It's a network, so it's crazy.
But it would also help a way to like there's hope there. There's a goal now that you can meet, instead of just finding a cure. You can also fight it off,
right?
By locating these hive minds, right? So
bomb it,
the center, With that said, we are pretty much done with the show. But before we go, I really need to know what you guys would rate the show out of 5 mushrooms.
Whatever.
All right, so you know what? Again, I'm only because I'm trying to grade this on a scale of the previous episode. Because I gave the first episode a perfect score, I'm gonna give it like a 4.75, just because like I said, I still like the first one better, so I'm just gonna put this like slightly a notch below. So yeah, 4.75. Top marks. Can't wait for episode 3. And just one little small tidbit before I pass on. The thing is, I think what I'm going to be looking forward to in episode 3 is the fact that, look, if you follow the marketing material and the trailers and all that, you knew that the journey was going to be Joel and Ellie all along. Tess was never there was no like we all like you didn't have to play the game to know that Tess wasn't going to be long for this world. I like the fact that, look, now that we got that out of and I don't mean to sound callous, but now that we got that part out of the way in terms of like, look, Tess is off the board. Now we get the real journey, the real story, the meat of it. Joel and Ellie on their road trip, and that's where I think we're gonna really see some development between these two as characters.
I agree, Charlie.
Well, now I'll give episode 1 a 4.8, and I give this one a 5.0. I like this episode better because exactly what you just said. It has at first it had the clickers. I love their introduction. They're so true to the game, and also now that Triss, I mean she's gone now, and this is actually the real journey of Joel and Ellie, and I know where they're going to go next, and I hope we all awesome. Do. Yeah, I hope it's awesome. I'm going to do some gameplay on that hopefully, and then we'll talk about that later. But I think I like this episode better than the first one. I really do.
Nice. Okay. I did give it a perfect score last time, right? So for the first episode, I will give this one a 4.5. Just because I wish Tess would have stayed a little bit longer so we could get a little bit more depth into Joel and his relationship with her and his relationship with people in general.
Yeah.
Because it would be juxtaposed against his new relationship with Ellie. So like I would have loved to have seen that where he's pushing and pulling on his character, on his morals. So but other than that, like the show was great, the episode's great, and I can't wait for episode 3. I can't wait to see new people. I can't wait to see Parks and Rec in The Last of Us.
Nick Offerman, yeah.
And also Alonzo, yeah, I gave it a 5 because of the tendril kiss. Actually, that tendril kiss 5.
Yeah,
Alonzo gave it like a bonus. He gave it a bonus point just for that.
I took the 0.5 away for that. Yeah. All right. Well, before we go, I gotta give another shout out here. So we've got, if you guys want to check out Cover Price, you can get it unlimited for 30 days by typing in Nerdvana 14, and you get it for 99 cents. All right. So unlimited cover price for 30 days for only 99 cents by typing in Nerdvana 14. And also, don't forget to visit Bird City Comics. You can get 10% off any items, your whole purchase, if you type in TNH10. Again, that's TNH10 for 10% off. Get some great store exclusives from Bird City Comics.
Oh, yeah.
All right. And with that said, does anyone want to send us off? I'll send us off because it's the first time. This is the first time. Okay.
This is a movie. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Well, although I've done, I mean,
if you want to do it right, watch what you like. Couch potatoes for life.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's for this one. I didn't know that. Okay, cool. I'll know that for next time. All right, cool.
All right, everyone. Have a good one.
Peace.
Don't forget, Cover Lovers coming up.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Don't miss it.